What you are about to hear is highly classified. Welcome back to Zone 4. I am Brant Fowler, aka the Gonzo Goose, one of the co-hosts of the Zone 4 podcast, back with another Marvel Now #1 review. This time, looking at Thunderbolts, #1 by Daniel Way and Steve Dillon. And I'm gonna upfront tell you that I was very skeptical about this book. I know some of my friends were actually excited for this book, but me, I was like, okay, they're taking all these guys that are basically killers and putting them together on a team. Woohoo! So I mean, conceptually, it was we kind of joked about it on Zone 4 a while back, saying that it's like taking all your all your particular action figures because they wear the same outfits or whatever and putting them together, and that's a team. And it was that kind of mentality that we kind of joked was behind this particular book. Let's take all these killers and put them on a team together. That's it. All these individuals that work as individuals, let's make them a team. And so I was very skeptical going in. I was a fan of what Daniel Way did on the Deadpool book, but I haven't read a whole lot of his other work. Steve Dillon, I'm sure I've seen his work before because it does look familiar to me, but I can't place what on. I'm not a huge fan of his artwork after this issue, and I'll get into that in a minute. Basically, this story opens up with Thunderbolt Ross. Actually, we don't know it's Thunderbolt Ross for a couple of panels, talking to Frank Castle, who is chained up at a post, and he's telling Castle that, of course, Frank Castle being the Punisher, he's telling Castle that in about 8 minutes, probably less, all these mobsters are going to be in here to take you out. All the families are coming after you. They know you're here, and they're on their way. And as the issue progresses from start to finish, because Frank Castle is the main focus. Frank Castle and Thunderbolt Ross are the main focus of the story in this particular issue. As the story progresses, all these mobsters get closer and closer and closer until the point where they're joking about one of them can't find a parking space, or they're starting a carpool, and now there's like 400 of them armed to the teeth about to walk in the door, and Frank needs to make a decision. Okay, so backing up. And I am going to be slightly spoilerish with this, so forgive me. There's not really a whole lot that happens in this issue. Basically, it's just the team coming together. So there's nothing really to spoil because that's pretty evident anyway. So he's talking to Frank, trying to reason with him, and all the while it intersperses him talking with other individuals in between Frank's and his conversation. So we go to Somalia, and he's talking to Venom, and he's like, join up with me, basically. Then he's somewhere waiting for an appointment, and with apparently, or it seems to be a sheik, however you pronounce that, and his bodyguards are like, he's currently tied up, and he said, well, my appointment's not with the sheik. And then out walks Elektra, and so there's nothing really more to that. There's no interaction, no wordplay between those two. It's just Elektra walking out with everybody dead, and that's it. Then it jumps to another character. I'm not familiar with who she is. She's got long purple hair, and apparently she's fought the Hulk, and she was kept prisoner by Ross and crew when he was still after the Hulk. So I'm not sure who she is. And who's the other one? Deadpool. Of course, Daniel Way's writing. Of course, it's Deadpool. So he's like, Deadpool's fighting a bunch of mimes in France, and he's just shooting them in the face while he's talking to Ross. And he's like, and Ross is like, I followed you through all these other things, Agent, all the Zero X stuff and all that stuff. I can't remember. Agent, when he was Agent Zero, and or Agent X rather, and all that stuff. And he said, "Were you a part of that?" And he's like, "No, but I'm aware of it. I know what it's all about, and you know, we've kept tabs on you." And he was like, "But there's one important thing. You volunteered for all these projects." And he was like, "So?" And he's like, "I'm looking for volunteers," and that was that. So then it's back to him and Frank Castle, and he's talking to Frank, and he's like, "You know, I made one mistake in my entire military career." He said, "All of it was just business. None of it was personal except for one thing." And Frank says, "Hulk." And he said, "Yeah, that's where I went wrong, and I became exactly what I hated." But he said, "You understand one thing that I understand is that this is a cancer. It doesn't go away. It has to be cut out." And so he says, these 400 gunmen are going to be in here in just a few seconds. Time for you to make a decision." So he joins up with them, and he says at the very end, I have to spoil this part because this part was actually good. Thunderbolt tells him, "You can get out to the drainage system. It's going to be a tight fit, but you can make it." And he said, I know you're thinking about taking all these guys out. You know, there's they're all in one place. It's like shooting fish in a barrel, but you don't have the requisite firepower to do so." And Frank Castle pauses and looks at Thunderbolt Ross and says, "I do now." And then the last page we have Frank Castle and Red Hulk beating the crap out of all these mobsters. And that's how the story starts. That's how you have your killer team to cut out the cancer, as Thunderbolt Ross put it. So you know, Elektra, Red Hulk, Deadpool, Venom, Punisher, and this purple-headed lady. And so, you know, okay. I'm still not clear as to why all of a sudden there's a need to do this. You know, Red Hulk, last time I checked, was an Avenger. So now he's, you know, advocating killing. You know, he's brought on all these vicious anti-heroes, and that's basically what this is. This is the anti-hero group. And you know, you can say former villain. I mean, Elektra is a former villain. Deadpool kind of skirts the line, so does Punisher. And you know, Red Hulk has been as well, and versions of Venom have. So I guess it still, in a way, keeps the Thunderbolts theme, but not really. It's completely different in a way too. So, you know, it's okay. It's interesting. It's, you know, it was well written. I will give it that. The whole pacing of it. I was disappointed that more didn't happen, but you know, it was just basically an origin story for this team. And the art, there's nothing technically wrong with it, I guess, except for the fact that it looks very stiff at times. The facial expression, all the faces look the same to me, for one. The facial expressions are a little bit, I don't really know the right term to use. They just look very pulled and very tight, and you know, it's like everybody's like this, and you know what I'm saying. And I don't know, it's just, you know, there's no folds of the clothes. It's just like everybody's wearing skin tight stuff. You know, it's, you know, you see outlines of, you know, when you look at the Elektra, it's just outlines. It's like circles drawn on it. It's just not the best art I've seen. You know, but there was some good scenes in it. There was a facial expression. Deadpool, when he was frowning, that was really good. Him shooting the mime in the face. So I mean, there were some good points to it. It just, in my opinion, it needs a bit of work, and I'm actually surprised that it passed editorial as is. I think it needed some fine tuning to it, but it wasn't terrible. And you know, so overall, I'll give this a low 3 out of 5. You know, I'm not a huge fan of Punisher or this version of Venom. I've never been a huge fan of Elektra. I've never liked Red Hulk, so you know, I'm not really invested in this. I do like Deadpool, but Deadpool wasn't written really witty here, which surprised me because it was Daniel Way. writing him. You know, so it was okay. It was an okay book. It's not something I think that I'm gonna continue with. I am intrigued by it. I'm curious to see where it goes and what exactly they do. Maybe I'll check out another issue just to see, you know, what their first mission is or whatever. You know, how they're gonna approach this particular book. But it's not something that I'm eager to read. It's not something that I'm eager to follow. So 3 is the best it's gonna get, and that's pushing it for me. So. Anyway, thanks for watching another Marvel Now review here on Zone 4's YouTube channel. Please check out my other reviews on Dark Avenger Inc. on YouTube. It's youtube.com/user/Dark Avenger Inc. And they just went over 400 videos over there this week. So tons of reviews over there. TV shows, comics, DVDs. So all kinds of cool stuff over there. They're doing wonderful work over there, and you'll see a lot more of that popping up on Comic Related too. Speaking of Comic Related, please check Comic Related out for your daily comic news fix, and we have columns, webcomics, podcasts, and everything. You know all that. Zone 4 every Friday, zone4podcast.com, and on comicrelated.com, iTunes, Facebook, and on Dark Avenger Inc.'s YouTube channel on Sundays. And I'll be back soon with more reviews. Thanks for watching, and check you later.
This has been a Gonzo Goose production.